The Galactic Military Academy's training ground fell silent as the humans stepped onto the combat arena floor. Instructor Zixthor's multiple eye stalks swiveled nervously, double-checking the safety protocols on his datapad for the third time that morning. Cadet Marcus Chen reporting for standard combat assessment, the human announced, his voice carrying across the amphitheater where 200 alien cadets sat watching. Zixthor's translator crackled. Cadet Chen, you are aware this is a Class 3 combat simulation? The regulations clearly state all participants must wear full environmental protection, kinetic dampeners, and neural shielding. Marcus glanced down at his simple academy uniform, nothing more than a gray jumpsuit and standard-issue boots. Yes, sir. I read the manual. A ripple of confusion passed through the alien students. Krisha, a crystalline being from Mentara Prime, leaned toward her study partner, a gelatinous Bloxian named Gurgle 7. Is the Deathworlder malfunctioning? Why isn't it wearing protection? Gurgle 7's translation membrane pulsed with uncertainty. Perhaps humans process information differently. Their homeworld gravity is 1.3 standard. Maybe the stress has damaged its cognitive functions. Zixthor's mandibles clicked with agitation. Cadet Chen, I cannot authorize your participation without proper equipment. The simulation includes variable gravity fields, atmospheric pressure changes, temperature fluctuations from -40 to +60 degrees Celsius, and kinetic projectiles traveling at 200 meters per second. I know, sir. Marcus stretched his arms casually, rolling his shoulders. Permission to speak freely? The instructor's eye stalks drooped with resignation. In his 40 cycles of teaching, he had learned one universal truth. Humans always had something to say. Granted. Sir, my homeworld has gravity 1.3 times standard. Our atmospheric pressure varies wildly with altitude. I've personally experienced temperatures from -30 to +50 just by traveling between seasons and continents. And as for the projectile, Marcus smiled. Well, let's just say humans have been throwing things at each other for sport since before we discovered fire. A murmur swept through the amphitheater. T'Challa, a four-armed Zenthi warrior scholar, stood abruptly. Impossible. No species could survive such extremes without environmental adaptation suits. Marcus turned to face the crowd. You call Earth a death world. We just call it home. Zixthor's translator emitted a sound somewhere between a sigh and a prayer to his ancestors. Very well, Cadet Chen, but I'm tripling the medical team on standby. He raised a manipulator appendage. Begin simulation, mark! The arena floor erupted into chaos. Gravity fluctuated wildly, first dropping to 0.3 standard, then slamming up to 2.5. The alien cadets gasped as they watched Chen's knees bend slightly, absorbing the change, his body compensating with practiced ease. He had grown up playing sports where jumping and landing were fundamental. This was just another game. Temperature plummeted. Frost formed on the arena walls. The Mentorans immediately began shivering despite their protective gear. Marcus exhaled, his breath misting in the sudden cold, and kept moving. He had waited for buses in Chicago winters. This was nothing. The first kinetic projectile screamed toward him, a rubber sphere the size of a fist moving at lethal velocity for most species. Marcus's eyes tracked it with predatory focus, millions of years of evolution guiding his response. His hand snapped up, catching the projectile with a sharp smack that echoed through the amphitheater. He squeezed, testing the sphere's density, then casually tossed it aside. By the eternal nebula, Krisha whispered. It used its manipulator appendages to intercept a kinetic weapon. Humans have been playing catch since childhood, Gurgle 7 noted, rapidly updating his xenology database. I thought it was ceremonial. I didn't realize it was combat training. The simulation escalated. The temperature spiked to 55 degrees. Projectiles came from multiple angles. The gravity cycled through another brutal shift. The atmospheric pressure began to fluctuate, causing several alien observers to check their own protective equipment nervously. Marcus moved through it all like water flowing around stones. He dodged, weaved, caught, and deflected. Sweat poured down his face in the heat, but his breathing remained controlled. When gravity dropped, he used the momentum to leap further. When it increased, he went low and stable. His ancestors had hunted across African savannas, climbed Himalayan peaks, and crossed Arctic tundras. Every environmental challenge the simulation threw at him was something humanity had already conquered. The final phase activated. A low oxygen scenario combined with maximum kinetic assault. 12 projectiles converged on his position simultaneously. This was where Zixthor expected the human to finally call for termination. Instead, Marcus dropped into a crouch, his pupils dilating to capture maximum light in the suddenly dimmed arena. His breathing shifted, slower, deeper, more efficient. The high-altitude adaptation that had allowed his Tibetan ancestors to thrive at 8,000 meters kicked in. His body simply adjusted. He moved like liquid lightning, a blur of controlled aggression that seemed impossible for a being without protective gear. He ducked under 2 projectiles, caught a third, used it to bat away a fourth, rolled forward under 2 more, and came up running. The remaining projectiles missed by centimeters as he zigzagged across the arena floor, with the kind of spatial awareness that came from playing 3-dimensional sports since childhood. When the simulation ended, Marcus stood in the center of the arena, breathing hard but uninjured. His uniform was soaked with sweat, and he had a small cut on one cheek where a projectile had grazed him, but he was grinning. The amphitheater erupted into chaos. Cadets were standing, gesticulating wildly, their translators creating a cacophony of astonished exclamations in 300 languages. T'Challa's voice boomed over the noise. How is this possible? Marcus looked up at the stunned alien students. You ask how we survive without protection? We don't think of it as survival. We think of it as living. Earth didn't give us paradise, it gave us challenges, and we became human by meeting those challenges head-on. Instructor Zixthor approached slowly, his datapad displaying results he could barely believe. Cadet Chen, you have exceeded the performance metrics of cadets wearing full protective gear by a significant margin. Marcus wiped the blood from his cheek and smiled. Sir, respectfully, the gear isn't protection for us. It's a limitation. Humanity evolved in the Crucible. We're not trying to survive your combat drills. We're just ourselves. Krisha turned to Gurgle 7, her crystalline structure resonating with newfound respect. Perhaps we've been thinking about Deathworlders incorrectly. We assumed they survived despite their world. What if they're exceptional because of it? As the medical team ran their scans on the completely healthy human, and as the alien cadets began to reconsider everything they thought they knew about protective equipment and acceptable risk, Marcus Chen from Earth did something very human. He asked when the next drill would be, because he wanted to try it again but faster this time. And in that moment, every alien cadet understood why humans had gone from a single endangered species on a hostile planet to a civilization that explored the stars in less than a geological eye blink. They didn't conquer despite the danger. They conquered because of it. Because to humanity, the impossible was just another Tuesday.